Chapter 22. Exam and Good News. When I arrived at the classroom Nizu had written about, I sensed Aizawa was there. Probably irritated about something, as usual. Well, that's fair. Ever since I showed up, he's had less and less free time. He expelled his class, so now he's the go-to-errand boy, according to Nizu. It's probably his way of punishing such serious offenses. Although it's clear Nizu trusts his employees' judgment. If Aizawa didn't consider someone worthy of being a hero, maybe they weren't one. He's just taking out some of his frustration on the poor, sleep-deprived hero because he'd probably gotten some flack from his parents. He always ends up looking after me, either as my chauffeur or my tour guide. Now I needed to test myself, just like Nizu had prepared me for. Entering the room, I greeted him lazily and jokingly. "Hey, sleeping bag, how are you?" He didn't even bother to respond to my thoughtful greeting. He simply looked me in the eye and got straight to the point. "The exam is in one of the front row seats. Good luck." With that, he adjusted his yellow sleeping bag and began to rest his eyes. There were cameras in the room, so having a proctor was just an added formality. 1 hour later. Well, Nizu is a sadist. The first page only had a childish crossword puzzle. I chuckled a little. I thought the whole exam was a joke. The next page was filled with problems I struggled with, even during my previous university education. They were from every subject, from math to ethics. I think I hate the principal now. Now, with the allotted time up, I'm going to hand in my work. I hadn't even finished answering most of the questions. And Aizawa tells me so. Oh, by the way, Nizu asked me to announce that you only need the first page to pass. Even though his face was half covered by his scarf, I could tell from his tone. He was completely satisfied. From his eyes, I could see he was truly proud of his actions. I take back my previous statement. Nizu is fine. Aizawa is a sadist. He waited until the very end on purpose, just to see me struggle. In hindsight, I should have been nicer to him. But it's too late now. I'll get my revenge, eraser. After the exam, I went to Nizu's office. I knocked like a civilized person. He told me to come in. After a quick greeting, I got straight to the point. "Nizu, I want to ask about the license. When will I receive it?" "You'll probably have to wait until tomorrow. If I give it to you right away, people will question the validity of the test you took. That's fine with me. At least I don't have to wait much longer." But the next piece of news, he told me, was quite good. "I managed to bring up your idea for the camera in front of the court handling your case." They agreed, though somewhat reluctantly, I must add. He seemed rather pleased with himself as he spoke. "You'll receive a small bracelet with a 360-degree camera." He began to explain the procedure further. "You also won't have to worry about contacting the police to take away a villain you've incapacitated. Since you'll be under surveillance, you can focus on your work." That reassured me a little. I no longer had to worry about someone slowing me down. But Nizu continued. "The bracelet will arrive next month. It's currently being manufactured on Island. The police wanted a camera that could keep up with you and also withstand damage. Well, I was hoping they had something in stock, but I suppose they'll have to assign me a supervisor. I think they might want me back on the streets to scare the villains back into hiding. The heroes have done a good job containing the rising tide, but my presence might be more effective. So, do you know who my partner will be next month?" I was a little curious. "Well, from now on, the government has decided to put the number 17 hero on the clipboard, the rabbit hero. Mirko will be his supervisor. This is going to be bad. From what I remember, she absolutely hates teaming up with others. Now I can only assume she's being forced into this, because otherwise, I can't see her agreeing to something like this." "Well, how interesting. Thanks for the help, Principal. I didn't want to talk about the exam. It was bad enough that Aizawa was bothering me." I thanked Nizu for her efforts and left his office. I remember she was fast, but I still think she'll slow me down a bit. I didn't have much of a choice anymore. Becoming a licensed hero would take some time, but I couldn't have continued being a vigilante. From the moment they first saw me on camera, I knew they'd figure out my identity. I didn't want to become a fugitive vigilante. That would be much more trouble than getting arrested. It would mean that no matter how much I helped the public, both the police and the heroes would constantly be trying to catch me. With my strength, getting caught would be impossible. But I didn't want to deal with the authorities at every turn. I also want a future. I still want to go to high school and maybe college later on. I can continue being a hero as a side job. But eventually, I want to get a real job. Being a hero could be considered a profession in this world, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting weak villains. I needed something to do besides reading manga and becoming a hero. My future looks good right now. The authorities will stop bothering me in a year or two. I'll finish high school here, and then I'll have complete freedom to do whatever I want. Chapter 23. Productivity. The day would have passed quickly if I'd just waited and slept, but I didn't want to waste a perfect day. I made some adjustments to my hero costume. I added some utility belts and other tools. I asked the support division for help with that. An energy charger, I'll just call him Majima anyway, was kind enough not to ask for anything in return. Meanwhile, I ordered a weighted vest for training, inquiring about the possibility of an adjustable set of weighted clothing. We have the high-density weights. Attaching them to clothing might take some time. We need to find a material strong enough to withstand the increased weight. He started muttering a bit toward the end, most likely just to himself. Wait a moment until he finishes. After a few minutes, he just looked at me and said, "Oh, you're still here?" At this point, a vein popped out on my forehead. Why are inventors always so eccentric? "Yeah, you still haven't told me if it's possible to make the clothing," I said, calming down a little. "Well, I can make a set of clothing with inner pockets for a special type of weight. You should be able to adjust it by adding and removing weights." Majima was still considering the possibilities of this idea. "For now, you can use some of the wristbands the teachers wear during the tests. They should be good enough for training." He said that and handed me 4 weights. I think I remember them now. Small metal bracelets with black rectangles around the sides, each weight adding about a quarter of the wearer's body weight. Majima proceeded to show me how to put them on and how they worked. "Well, that's it. How much exactly will the weighted clothing cost? I still want to know if I can scrape together enough money to buy them when they're finished. The equipment for the staff is free, but I'd appreciate it if you came to me when you had any other interesting ideas." Well, at least that's covered. He still needs a source of income. Anyway, back to Nizu's office. I quickly said goodbye to Majima, leaving the weights on. I could feel them a little, slowly draining my stamina, but for now, I could ignore it. When I arrived at Nizu's office for the second time today, I politely knocked on the door. Upon entering, I saw him reviewing some files. I greeted him with a touch of cheerfulness. "Hello, Director, sir. I forgot to ask you something the last time we spoke." "Well, ask away," Nizu said, looking at me. He was signing files at an impressive speed at the same time. "I wanted to know if I would be paid for catching villains. I know the work I do at UA is classified as criminal labor or something, but my hero activities shouldn't be affected by that, right?" "Well, as far as your pay is concerned, like most heroes, you'll receive a monthly salary from the government. The amount generally depends on your activity." Nizu kept signing papers while explaining these things to me. I can't help but think I'm bothering him somehow. Thanks for clearing that up. I wasn't really paid as a vigilante, so I don't really know how this works. With that, I left his office, leaving him to his work. Nizu was probably doing something important. The moment I left the room, I could hear him brushing his fur. I guess maintaining his fur still counts as important work for him. After that, I went to a gym on the school grounds. I wanted to train hard today. The weighted wristbands really gave me a confidence boost. They made me feel like I was making progress. I thought I'd never feel that burning sensation in my arms after a day of training again. Now, I was heading to get something to eat. Lunch rush should still be at the cafeteria. That guy is a god. I don't care what the billboards say. He's my #1 hero. I ate a lot the first time I went to that cafeteria. The food was so good. I almost ate until I passed out. I'd never tasted such good food in my 2 lives. Since my first time there, the cafeteria had become my favorite place. Now I was sitting at a random table. The place was almost empty. It was already night, and most of the students were already in their dorms or at home. As I stood up, I could hear an excited voice. I couldn't hear anything else but the big 3 entering the cafeteria at the same time. The voice was obviously Nijire's. Not many people could be that loud without a voice-related quirk. Tagata noticed me instantly. I was a bit taller than the other students, after all. After they got their food, they headed to my table. Before they sat down, Nijire said, "Hey, Allan, I'm glad to see you here." She's always a bundle of energy. Mirio was mirroring her a bit in that aspect, too. Tamaki was as shy as I remembered. Even just saying hello was a struggle for him. It's great to meet you all. I spoke with Nijire before, but I never had the chance to meet her friends, I said with a friendly smile. How come you three are still in school? I lived here, so this was normal for me, but I'd never seen them in the cafeteria at this hour before. We decided to train a little harder today. After you beat us in the last group exercise, all our classmates have been working harder. It seems my presence was also a motivating factor for the young heroes. Nizu really does have the most influence over us. Not that I minded, I was getting bored in that shitty cell. Noticing they were still standing while talking to me, I invited them to sit down. They were probably waiting for me to do it. So, you need help with training? I'm no expert, but I've trained quite a bit. I wanted to know how quickly they could progress. Seeing them in their second year was quite nice. It gave me more time to observe their progress. I wanted to see how far their quirks could take them. I could use some advice. I want to speed up my energy waves somehow. Right now, I need to get close to an enemy for them to be effective. Nijire was the only one who asked for help. Since my quirk is part emitter and part transformation, I could give her some pointers. We can meet up in our free time and train a bit. I usually spend my time training anyway. I wouldn't mind having a partner for a while, I suggested, and she seemed somewhat excited at the prospect. She readily agreed. Sound great. I still have some questions about your quirk. The conversation continued. We ate and talked for a while, and even after finishing our meal, we remained seated. Finally, we noticed that the sun had set, and we stood up. It's been nice. It seems I've kept the three of you here for a while, I said with a lazy smile. We should do this more often. Maybe we can even train together. Mirio was really enjoying the conversation. Yeah, Tamaki still wasn't talking much, but I know he'll eventually get affectionate with me. Let's meet again tomorrow. Nijire simply had way more energy than us mortals. She didn't know the meaning of tiredness. So we went our separate ways. I think we spent about 3 hours in the cafeteria. Thankfully, Lunch Rush still had to clean up. He hadn't kicked us out yet. What a great hero. With happy thoughts, I headed to my room and used my last ability. The second my head hit the pillow, I was unconscious. I didn't even bother taking off the weights. Chapter 24. First night out. The first thing I did after waking up was take a quick shower. I need to get my Maijima disguise, and I also need to get my official Nizo license. After that, I still have some work to do at UA. I'll be free to go out at night. Well, I'll have Mirko accompany me. From what I remember, she's pretty fast. She might not be able to cover the whole city, but at least half of it should be possible. I don't have much to do at UA right now. It's not like the hero course has training sessions every day. Although most students decide to train outside of class, at least following Mirio's advice. After doing everything required of me at school, I was ready to go out. Nizu said I had to call a police dispatcher and let them know if I wanted to go out. Although they would know because of the tracking ankle bracelet they put on me. I called the number Nizu gave me and was told to wait in front of the UA gates. They were probably going to send Rumi to pick me up and start the patrol. I waited there for a while, dressed in my disguise. I should have expected her to be late. Not that she liked the idea of having to supervise me. Technically, it meant I now had a teammate, a concept she always detested. After a while, I finally saw her. It had been an hour since the dispatcher told me to wait there. She looked genuinely angry. She didn't even bother to greet me or anything. She just started complaining. I can't believe they made me look after you. Her anger was directed at me, even though it wasn't really my fault. Well, nice to meet you. Or not. I wasn't going to be nice to her for no reason. Come on, don't get in my way and don't hold me up. Her comment annoyed me. I should be the one saying that. Just by being late here, you've already held me up. I wasn't going to let her boss me around. I was a trained fighter and had experience dealing with villains, probably as much as her, if not more. At this point, she shouldn't have been a hero for more than 2 years. She should be 24 now, and assuming she went to college, she most likely became a hero by 21 or 22 at the latest, which means I was technically her oldest at this. She was really angry at my comment, but I just ignored her reaction and started patrolling. However, it quickly turned into a race. She just didn't want me to run ahead of her. She kept accelerating until she passed me, which in turn made me speed up even more, thinking we could patrol the streets faster. With my senses, I could feel quite a bit of villain activity in the district, so I decided to apprehend as many as possible. I completely ignored Mirko's presence, handling the villains with ease. She really took this patrol as a challenge, trying to take down as many villains as possible. I contacted the dispatcher and told them to send all the heroes from the nearby districts elsewhere. I could handle things here just fine. Having more manpower in other districts would be better. At first, they didn't want to listen, but then I reminded them that I'd explained much more than this myself in the past. I hadn't seen so many villains since my first patrols as a vigilante. It was a little worrying for me. The moment I take a break, the villain starts running wild as if I'd vanished. Why are there so many of them? Do they reappear or something? My first patrol as a hero was eventful. I still needed to contact the dispatcher for every villain captured. I can't wait for that stupid camera to arrive. Honestly, she's just as annoying as I remembered. During this entire time, I didn't exchange a single word with my temporary partner. She didn't try to start a conversation either. We didn't make a good first impression on each other. Before meeting her, I still thought she'd be nice, but now I think of her as a nuisance. I don't know what she thinks of me, but from the few glances she gave me, it's probably mutual. Every now and then, I could sense her smile. I don't really know why she was smiling, but she certainly didn't want me to see it. Anyway, by the end of our patrol, Mirko was exhausted. Matching my speed while fighting so many villains was a difficult task. I don't think many are capable of that. Maybe All Might could, if he were still at his peak. Aside from him, I remember Hawks being very mobile, though I don't think he has as much stamina as Mirko. I think this was a productive night. There won't be so many villains on the streets next time. The media has already picked up on my return. They were bound to write some articles. Right now, I called my dispatcher and told them I was heading back to UA. I didn't bother saying goodbye to Mirko. She just looked in my direction, still exhausted. I was already on my way when something happened. I paused, glancing back at the rabbit hero. She couldn't even stand up anymore. She collapsed right there. In her effort to keep up with me, she'd completely disregarded her own well-being. I couldn't just leave her there. I decided to take her to a hospital. Recovery girl wouldn't be able to help. I doubted Mirko had any energy left. Running with her on my back wasn't too difficult. I fashioned some light ropes to hold her in place. I couldn't use my fastest speed, but I still made it to the hospital in under a minute. Upon entering the hospital, I called the reception desk for assistance, and they brought me a stretcher. I needed to call my dispatcher again. He probably noticed I'd taken a different route to UA. He didn't need to panic because I was trying to escape. I didn't return to UA that night. I was a little worried about my temporary partner's condition. I didn't like him, but knowing his current state was my fault made me feel somewhat guilty. I spoke with the hospital staff, and they agreed to let me stay longer. I spent that night in a hospital chair near his bed. Rumi Usajiyama's POV. I remember thinking this was going to be boring. I'd only heard about this person in the past. He's supposed to be a great vigilante, but he's just a 15-year-old brat. So what if he's a little taller than other kids his age? I thought the police were joking when they told me to be careful. Now I know why they were so serious. He's incredibly fast. Keeping up with him is incredibly difficult, but I don't want to show any weakness. It made me so angry when he said I was holding him back. But no matter how hard I tried, I always ended up behind him. It didn't discourage me. It just made me want to work harder. Every time I picked up the pace a little, he got even faster, like he was leveling up to mine. The mere thought of me holding him back infuriated me. It made me go even faster. The pace at which he defeated the villains was impossible for me to replicate. Even when I gave him my all, I couldn't even match half his numbers. Most of the villains didn't even have time to blink. He only showed his true speed when he knocked them down. Unconsciously, a smile crept onto my lips. I didn't let him see it. If I even saw it starting to spin, I suppressed it. I couldn't let him see that I was enjoying this. I could feel myself getting stronger. Each time I accelerated, I felt motivated to break my limits. In the end, I couldn't even move a muscle. I could feel my heart pounding outside my chest. Even at my maximum capacity, I could feel every muscle in my body burning with pain. Before I could utter a word, I collapsed to the ground. I saw him back toward UA. I don't think he even noticed me fall. I knew this was serious. I was clinging on with all my willpower just to stay conscious. If I passed out, I was afraid I wouldn't wake up. But in my state, I couldn't even scream for help, let alone press my emergency beacon. I saw him running back here, probably noticing something was wrong. He acted quickly, strapped my limp body to his back, and rushed me to a hospital. The moment I hit the gurney, I knew I was going to be okay. His face was the last thing on my mind. I was filled with concern, something I didn't think I'd see in anyone but my family. It gave me a warm feeling. With these happy thoughts, I fainted. And that's it. I'll bring you the next chapter soon. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.